Okay, I'm here to make another quick update to the Helium Stick because I continue, of all the things that I've ever posted, this is the one that I continue to get the most questions on. I believe I was one of the first to use Helium Sticks and to modify them like this. And I think I posted up like 4 or 5 years ago when I first started using these, and I just continue to get questions. I do modify mine every time and make a few tweaks and changes to it, but the overall they're about the same. So I'm just going to go through them one more time and kind of show people what I use. Okay, so one of the first questions I always get is how tall are my sticks? So they are 24 inches to the very top right here, okay? And I think they're 23 inches between my steps. That's just for my ability and my stretching. I'm a little bit older, I'm 55. That's just what I feel comfortable having spacing between my steps. The reason why I first started doing this is because all the sticks on the market at the time had 16 inches, 15 or 16 inches in between each step, and that was a lot of wasted space for me. I can comfortably step 23 inches, and then I use an aider, a carry-as-you-go aider that I use with these. Okay, so how I bungee these together. Hawk came up with this idea. They make this ball with a bungee loop on it. Now what I did is I got a heavier bungee. I don't know what weight this is. I would guess it's 3/16. Okay, but it's a lot heavier bungee, and I make these and I replace these every year because I want these tight. And as you can see, when you put these on here, they don't make any noise. Okay, and that's why I like carrying them. Two bungees, one on the bottom, one on the top. Okay, and then my Hawk Heliums. What I've done to modify these, besides cutting them, is I put the AM still on here, and I'll cover that in a little bit. But I also took some of that camo form tape, and I took a little piece of that exercise mat, and right under the standoff, I wrapped that up with some of that camo form and pad. I also take a piece of that camo duct tape and put a piece of pad, exercise mat, right here in the bottom. And this just allows me to stack these together quietly, and it helps hold them together like that when I want to bungee them up and transport them, and it makes them rock solid. So I do that on my bottom 2 sticks, my top 3rd stick. All I do is put this on here. I don't need to do that part. I paint them, I mark them bottom, middle, and top, so I always know how to put these together, because I do vary where this Versa button goes in so these stack up nice and tight. Okay. One of the questions I get a lot of times is where do I put my Versa button? So on my bottom stick, from the bottom to center, 16.5. My middle stick, 15.5. My top stick, right at about 15.75. Okay. My AM steel ropes. I'm just going to grab one of them. I don't even know which one this is because I get a lot of questions on how long do I make my ropes. This is what I actually do now. I tie the AM steel loop and I make my loops just to where they go over the Versa button. But what I do is I make my ropes, and I have a 100-foot piece of this. All right, I put a splice in the end. I'll take this and wrap this once around the bottom of my stick, over the Versa button, back around, and I'll come to where I go over the top of the Versa button, and I have enough to slide this behind the ropes. Okay? Now how long is that? It'll probably be a little bit different from each stick. Let me figure out. This is from the end of the loop. This rope right here winds up being exactly 6 foot long. Now, I do take, after I tie my looped end, and you can see I bury it about 6 or 7 inches, so you're going to have to add probably 8 inches to the end of this rope. But then I also bury this end. I just take my fid and go back into my rope, put the end of it in, and pull it into the rope. So I bury it like that. Okay? So this rope is 6 foot long. And that's pretty accurate. Wingspan, I've got about a 6 foot wingspan. So that's how I put my ropes on there and how long I make that. Another thing I do on my sticks is I take that camo form tape, and on my tree brackets on the top and bottom, I wrap that with camo form tape also. Trying to think what else you might have, any other questions you might have on these. My carry as I go aider. What I do is once this is on the tree, I just take my aider and I loop it over the top of the tree bracket to where it's hanging over this, and then it goes over the top of these steps. Actually, what I do is I hang it on this step and it goes under this top one, and then it goes over the top of my bottom steps to keep it away from the tree. How high is it? Once again, I have a large roll of the tubular webbing. I put this stick on there, and so I've got 23 inches between my steps here. What I want to keep is that very consistent. So I take the tubular webbing, I put a piece of that irrigation pipe on it to help keep it open, and I have it to where I tie it to where my loop hangs 23 inches below my bottom steps. Okay, so it's consistent. And using 3 sticks in that one aider, easily I can get up to 20 foot. And very seldom do I hunt above 22 foot. And if I need to go higher than that, because there are occasionally a tree where I'll go higher, I'll just one stick up it, or I'll carry one gym step with me. But most of the time, these 3 sticks do everything I need them to do. The weight of these, I don't have my scale with me today, but I've done other videos where I weigh them. For my aider, my 3 ropes, my 3 sticks, and the bungees, they were just a little bit over 6 pounds. Okay, and you could, if you really wanted to, you could lighten these up even a little bit more by drilling holes in it. But you know, I'm not going to worry about 6 to 8 inches on my climbing sticks. I've got my system down to where I like it. Most of the time, I attach these to my Kathy Kelly pack, and I've shown a video how I do that. Sometimes I do have a carrier that I've made where I'll just sling it over my shoulder and I'll carry them, you know, right here on that. A lot of times for the first few years, I just would put these together and I would hand carry them in one hand and the bow in the other. But I hunt a lot of thick crap, and I always have pruners on my side. So I like keeping one hand free so I can grab my pruners and cut vines and stuff as I'm going, especially early in the morning when I'm trying to really sneak in close to the bed, a lot of times bedded deer or deer in their bedding area. I like to be able to cut that stuff and move more quickly, so I like having my one hand free. But this is my Helium sticks. I did order a set of the Dan Infalt new sticks, and I'll give them a shot. I don't know how I'm going to feel about having permanent steps across here. Where that will be an advantage is for those of you who, and sometimes I do this, you use your top stick as a platform, or at least a step around your platform. I think having that permanent non-movable step is going to reduce any chance of noise, because I will tell you, if you stand on a stick with movable steps, there's always a potential for noise. And even these Hawk Heliums, as much as I put wax on them, I keep these tightened down, I'm constantly maintaining my sticks. I don't really like standing on the sticks because I have had them start to make noise. Even platforms, you know, the best made platform in the world, on certain trees, the way it, you know, it may not be level or whatever, and so you put more pressure on one area than another. Just by the dynamics of movement and rubbing and stuff, they can creak and pop at times. So waxing them is important, keeping everything tight. So I do a lot of that. If this was live, I'd be taking your questions right now. I don't know how to do all that. You know, I never really got into the YouTube stuff to make a big YouTube channel and all that. I didn't even name mine. I see all these people with all these Hank's Outdoors and all that. I don't do all that. My intention was to just share the system and the components I use and to answer questions that you might have. I've been using these Hawk Heliums